Third time I called, I decided I was staying on until I got through to somebody. It was 8 hours.
Long wait times and problems with the unemployment system. WRTV is looking into complaints with the new ID verification procedure.
A huge spike in utility bills, leaving people around central Indiana frustrated. Working for you, we find out why bills are so high and what you can do.
There's 26 million refugees globally, so 125 is still a drop in the bucket.
More refugees will soon be welcomed into the United States. What this could mean here in central Indiana.
Politics and people disrupted our community. It wasn't a good feeling.
We examine Indianapolis's interstate system, how construction decades ago destroyed neighborhoods and displaced families. The impact still felt today. Good evening to you here at 6 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starrentino. First tonight, to avoid unemployment fraud, the Department of Workforce Development has implemented a new identity verification procedure. But one woman says she's had serious problems with the system, preventing her from receiving her unemployment benefits. WRTV's Stephanie Wade is looking into this issue to see why this is happening.
I can't believe that they think people should just wait. I mean, all these people are out of work, and other people have to be having the same problem.
Catherine Fleener filed for unemployment the week of Christmas. A few days later, there was a notice on her account to complete the new ID verification process, recently added to prevent fraud. So she followed the steps, uploaded all of the requested documents, but
came back and said that my documents didn't pass their scrutiny.
Fleener then called the Department of Workforce Development.
They said, oh, if you do it again, it'll come up and tell you that you need to do a video call with them.
It did. She dialed into the video call and waited.
The first time, it was an hour and a half wait. I never got through to anybody because I had an appointment because I had to leave.
The same thing happened the second time after waiting for 2 hours before finally.
The third time I called, I decided I was staying on until I got through to somebody. It was 8 hours sitting on the system waiting for someone to connect on the video call.
8 hours later.
I couldn't believe it.
And what time did they finally answer?
4 o'clock in the morning.
And you were up?
Yeah. Like I said, I was determined to make sure that I got through that time.
Finally, everything was completed, and within 5 minutes, she says, she received this email saying her ID was verified.
The day that my ID was verified was January 13th. So, and it still is not cleared on my account.
But almost a month later, and her account still shows uncompleted.
That's what the one agent told me, that everything on my account was done. All I was waiting for was the ID verification. And from looking at my account, it shows how much I'll be getting each week and how much my, total benefit is and everything. It's just waiting on the ID verification.
Preventing her from receiving much needed assistance after no longer working as a food court supervisor at a local university due to COVID.
I did everything that they asked me to do. They just don't seem to worry about that you're not getting your money, you're not working, you're not getting your money, and of course you can't pay your bills.
The DWD Commissioner Fred Payne said 71% of current claims have fraud indicators through their new ID.me system, meaning 3 out of every 4 claims require some sort of additional processing. We reached out to see what the issue is with Fleener's account, and the department is working right now to figure that out for us. Stephanie Wade, WRTV.
A DWD spokesperson tells us thousands of Hoosiers have successfully verified their identity through ID.me. If a claimant is having technical issues, ID.me has 2 methods. You can either submit a ticket on their website or send an email. If you are having an issue you cannot get resolved, email us at workingforyou@wrtv.com.
Today, the state reports a slight rise in the number of new COVID-19 cases and deaths. The Indiana Department of Health confirms 1,225 additional cases of coronavirus. That's 160 more new cases than were reported yesterday. One reason for that increase could be because data shows shows the state tested 8,000 more people than the day before. In total, 641,874 Hoosiers have tested positive for COVID-19. The Department of Health also reports 67 additional COVID-related deaths. 11,526 people in Indiana have died with COVID since the pandemic began. If you are 65 or older, you can sign up to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. To register, go to ourshot.in.gov, or you can dial 211 to sign up.
You want to be careful if you plan to go anywhere tonight, especially if you live south of Indianapolis. This is video today of a snowy US 31 near Whiteland in Johnson County. This is the bad part of the snow. Sometimes you have to drive in it, but the snow can also create beautiful scenery. These are pictures of a snowy Indiana University campus in Bloomington. Thanks to Brian Olson, who works at IU, for sending in these pictures to us. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Gregory joins us now. Kevin, what's next for us? Some of this?
The good news is not in the near future, at least when we say near future now, we're talking hours, not days, because it seems like every other day we're getting more snow. But across central Indiana now, no snow. We're not anticipating that this evening or tonight. It arrives during the day tomorrow. What snow you have on the ground now will likely be there in 10 to 14 days because the cold temperatures that you see on your screen are just locked in place. Weather stays active, meaning some more snow tomorrow and potentially on Saturday. There's the core of that cold air sinking all the way to the deep south and bringing the coldest temperatures on Valentine's Day and Monday morning. I'll definitely get to the Monday morning lows for you because they stick out in the 7-day planner.
All right, we'll see you soon, Kevin. Many of our neighbors around central Indiana in shock. Their utility bills spiking in the month of January. Some say they didn't use any more energy than they did in previous months. And take a look at this. On the WRTV Facebook page, we asked, did you get sticker shock opening your January bill? And the responses have been overwhelming. More than 400 comments, people sharing their stories with us. And tonight, WRTV's Nikki Dementri is working for you, getting answers, finding out why there is such an increase on these January utility bills.
This has to be wrong.
Disbelief is how Pamela Ferguson says she still feels after opening her Duke Energy bill last month.
This apartment is so small, I could sit right here on my couch and see the whole thing.
Ferguson says it's the highest bill she's seen while living in her Bloomington one-bedroom apartment. What normally is a bill of $40 to $60 is now up to $100.
I can pay it because I'm getting energy assistance, but my energy assistance is almost gone. I live on $1,161 a month disability.
I'm like, oh, look, it's going to cut down because Christmas is over. And all of a sudden I see this. I'm like, what is going on?
On Indy's south side, Jennifer Hooper lives in a 2-bedroom, 900 square foot apartment. She has IPL.
My bill was $122.
And it normally is how much?
About between 70, 80.
The single mother who works part-time while also going to school says she wants answers.
So it's like, how am I going to get it? How am I going to pay it?
These women aren't alone.
When I saw that post that you put on there, I thought, oh, thank God, it's not just me.
Hundreds sharing the same concern detailed through comments on this post on our WRTV Facebook page. It's important to note it's not entirely clear which energy company these folks have, but the sentiment remains the same.
It's just kind of sad that we're all in the same boat and we don't have answers.
Mine was almost as much as my rent, Megan wrote. Jessica added, ours was over $300 and it only runs about $150.
It happens in the winter. It happens when we have hot summers as well. So it just sort of takes people by surprise every year.
Lou Middleton with Duke Energy is talking about higher bills. He says the single biggest factor for higher bills is the weather.
There's a disconnect in people's minds between how much energy they use, they don't know how much they use, and the bill when they get it, because they get to use the electricity, and then about a month later, we send the bill to them. Well, you know, who remembers what was going on 30 days ago?
Other factors, Middleton says, are the differing number of days in a billing cycle and the new normal of working from home during the pandemic.
I can also tell you that we have a number of programs available to customers to help them make the payments a little bit easier.
Middleton urges anyone with questions to reach out to Duke Energy's customer service line. Working for you, Nikki Dementri, WRTV.
An IPL spokesperson tells us the weather and working from home are two factors contributing to these bills. The spokesperson also says anyone with issues making payments can enroll in an extended payment plan by going to their website or calling IPL. Duke Energy has tips on how to decrease your energy use. The company says you should reduce your thermostat to the lowest comfortable setting. Leave drapes or blinds open during sunny winter days to allow the sun to warm the house. And close those blinds and drapes at night to help insulate your home. Have the heating and air conditioning system checked regularly to maintain performance. Operate ceiling fans in a clockwise direction, which pushes warm air back down into the room. Change air filters regularly. Duke says a dirty air filter makes the heating system work harder.
We had maybe 300 Syrians come in 2016. We had one last year.
Fewer and fewer refugees are coming into the United States over the last several years, people resettling to the U.S. after leaving their home country due to war or fear of persecution. But the number of refugees allowed into this country is changing. WRTV's Alyssa Donovan explains why more refugees will soon be welcomed into the U.S. and the impact here in Indy.
Local immigration agencies say the rebuilding of the refugee resettlement program will not happen overnight. But when the program is restored, it could mean a long-awaited reunion for a local family.
We have seen a lot of people losing their life just because they ask for freedom. So we made a decision that we should just leave home and just to save our lives.
Mohammed Al-Hamwe was forced to flee war-torn Syria back in 2011. Living as a refugee in Jordan for several years.
We were not able to stay there as Jordanian, where we can go to school, have a job. Just we ask ourselves every day how long this will be, when we'll be able to go back home, or when we'll be able to, have a better life.
The 26-year-old is now a medical assistant at Eskenazi Hospital, a job he chose for a reason.
Just to kind of give something back to help others, just like the way we were able to receive a lot of help from American people.
Al-Hamwe, one of nearly 950 refugees local agency Exodus helped resettle in Indianapolis in 2016. Executive Director Cole Vargas says it was the largest year of resettlements for the agency, followed by the smallest ones.
Past fiscal year that ended September 30th, we welcomed just 175 people.
Last year, less than 12,000 refugees were welcomed into the U.S. On Thursday, President Joe Biden signed an executive order to rebuild the U.S. refugee resettlement program, raising the annual cap on refugee admissions to 125,000, a number much closer to the 110,000 cap put in place by President Obama before he left office. Vargas says it's massive news, but infrastructure will need to be restored to even get close to reaching that goal.
We lost a lot of staff, a lot of institutional knowledge during these years, not just us, but many agencies, and some agencies shuttered completely.
The order gives hope to families like Al-Hamwe's. His grandparents, parents, and 3 sisters made it to Indianapolis before policy change took place, but his uncle did not.
My dad's brother, he is a refugee in Jordan.
But hopefully not for much longer.
I'm so happy, me and my family, that my uncle or just other people might get a second chance, because we all deserve a second chance after we lost our home country.
I'm Alyssa Donovan, WRTV.
Well, Exodus is one of 3 agencies that resettles refugees in Indiana, each one supporting refugees with everything from housing and education to getting ID cards and learning how to use public transit. Vargas says in order to rebuild the program nationwide, a lot of resources and funding will be necessary, but he's hopeful the network will get back to what it once was.
I mean, it was just like, gotta go. And everybody went.
Neighborhoods destroyed and families displaced when the interstate system was built in Indianapolis. Tonight, a look at how the interstates so many of us use every day have a different meaning to families who were moved out of the way.
And more of this is in the forecast, and we'll talk about how that plays in with the cold temperatures on the way.
Tonight, WRTV is taking a closer look at the Indianapolis highway system and the impact the design and infrastructure had on communities in our area.
Particularly those with Black and immigrant families. WRTV's Megan Sanctorum spoke with one woman from the South Side who explains how her neighborhood was ripped apart by I-70.
It was a together community. There was no division. We had no issues.
That's how Beatrice Miller describes the South Side neighborhood she grew up in and the one where she chose to raise her kids.
We had everything we needed in our area. We had grocery stores, filling stations, banks.
But that neighborhood around South Meridian Street now just a shell of what it once was.
Well, it started to change when they wanted to do the highway.
She's talking about the construction of I-70, the interstate ripping right through the heart of the community, displacing working class Black and Jewish families in its path.
It was horrible, miserable. It was terrible. Because what were they going to do? They had to leave. They didn't own the property, they had to go.
Miller's house was spared, but many neighbors were not as lucky. And unfortunately, this story is not uncommon.
Beginning in the 1930s, the federal government decided to embrace racial inequality and project it onto the landscape. That's how the highway system gets formed. That's how real estate segregation happens in the 1930s and 40s.
Paul Mullins is a professor of anthropology at IUPUI. He studied this topic and wrote a blog post about Indianapolis's interstate system.
It seems just very natural to us. It's actually a very racialized landscape. These interstates almost always in every city, bisected Black and immigrant neighborhoods, dividing people up, displacing them.
Susan Hyatt is also a professor of anthropology at IUPUI. She worked with a group of students to write a book about what this South Side neighborhood once was.
Just can picture all the families going to the local grocery stores, going and doing their shopping for the Jewish families before the Friday night Sabbath, going to the Oriental Theater, which was a movie theater that was where the ramp of I-70 now is.
She and Mullins say it's important to learn the history of the interstates so many of us use every day.
When homes and businesses were seized from Black and immigrant homeowners, that wealth in some ways I think has never been recovered. And social networks were broken and people scattered all over the place.
So what is it like for you when you drive down there and you just look at the neighborhood?
When I don't see anything, no, the only thing I see is cars being parked and all this stuff. It's really hurtful.
And Miller says to move forward, there needs to be a mindset shift.
Rethinking of people, let them know that I'm not a checker on the checkerboard, that you just move me around.
Working for you, Megan Sanctorum, WRTV.
Many families of that South Side neighborhood still meet every summer for a reunion at a local park. We have much more about this story and the history of Indianapolis's interstate system on our website. We'll put a link in this story as well.
Only a few places will escape the next blast of cold air. We're cold now. We'll take it down a notch as we go to the weekend, with that arriving Saturday into Sunday. And you can see all the way to Texas to the northern Gulf Coast states definitely will feel this as well. Coldest temperature on the way in central Indiana, 12 below zero. That's probably around Logansport, Peru, maybe Delphi. And other low temperatures, Lafayette at about 11 below. This is Monday morning. We've got a little time, but the cold air arrives Sunday, and then Monday morning is when we'll feel the coldest temperatures that we've had so far this winter, and Noblesville down to around 8 below. One of the reasons, for example, last night, blanket of 5 to 6 inches of snow from Bedford through Nashville, Columbus, Bloomington, over to Seymour and Greensburg. That blanket of snow ensures that we don't really warm up during the daytime and sets the stage for these overnight temperatures that will be very cold. 26 in Sullivan right now, 27 in Bedford, temperatures to the north around 20 degrees. Let me show you tomorrow. The storm system is going to have a bigger impact south of the Ohio River. There are ice storm warnings from northeast Arkansas through nearly all of Kentucky and into West Virginia. The arcing area of ice will have a great impact in western Kentucky, northwest portions of Tennessee, but all the way to the eastern portion of Kentucky as well. For us, looks like snow develops in the afternoon, generally an inch of accumulation, some isolated higher spots. If we see any wintry mix, that's likely south of a Bedford and Seymour line. There's the rise in our chance for snow during the afternoon hours tomorrow. Better chance around 1 o'clock and beyond. Most of this should be fairly light. The pink that you see there does represent the wintry mix possible in the southern portion of the state. 7-day forecast have Valentine's Day plans. Plan on dealing with that. 7 degrees for the afternoon high temperature. First day that we've had single-digit high temperatures. And that sets up our very cold Monday with temperatures well below 0. We've got some another snow chance on Saturday and then early next week. That's all I got. Mark?
All right, Kevin, thank you for that. The Big Ten Conference now confirms what WRTV first reported last week. A statement from the Big Ten says the conference will move its men's basketball tournament from Chicago to Indianapolis. The postseason tournament will now be held at Lucas Oil Stadium March 10th through the 14th.
The Butler Bulldogs are back in action tonight in a Big East battle with St. John's. Butler is looking to put together back-to-back wins after defeating DePaul over the weekend. Tonight's tip-off is at 9 p.m. at Hinkle Fieldhouse. We'll be right back.
Temperatures in the teens with lots of clouds in the morning. Your snow chances increase in the afternoon hours tomorrow. Temperature only jumps to maybe 23 or 24. Mark and Amanda?
That's going to do it for us here on WRTV News at 6. Thanks for joining us.
World News Tonight with David Muir is next. Then join us again for the news at 7.